Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to another video. Today I kind of wanted to revisit an older video I did, the video that I put out just after Fahkumram released. He's been out for a while now, and my opinion hasn't changed that much, but it has changed a bit, so I want to kind of revisit that and also talk about his popularity and balanced characters as a whole, what makes a character fun, things like that, to play against and to play as, by the way. So yeah, we're gonna get into it, but first off, I just want to say shout out to the devs really on this character. Fahkumram, nobody really wanted him when the trailer first came out, including me. I was not looking forward to Fahkumram at all. I gotta be honest with you guys, I was really not looking forward to playing against Fahkumram. I thought he was gonna be absolutely busted and brain dead and, you know, not have to use your brain while using this character. But contrary to what I thought, he actually came out pretty damn balanced and interesting as a character. I've actually had a smile on my face while playing ranked. Even when you're not playing like a super strong character, I think it's important to try and concentrate on fun rather than just being try hard and trying to win every single match. Strength is not always the defining factor in fun as well, I should say. So yeah, it was a very nice, pleasant surprise when he released, being a DLC character that most people expect to have, you know, the most broken stuff, right? The most broken stuff in a Tekken game. I mean, we had Tekken 7 Leroy and Fahkumram released, right? Which is part of the reason I was so worried about Fahkumram. And I think most people were worried for the same reason. And he didn't really play in Tekken 7 how he plays in Tekken 8. He actually plays a lot more mind games and interesting. It does a lot of more interesting counterplay to the character, which also means that your offense is a little bit more interesting. You have to be a lot more creative in how you run your offense, right? How you fight against other players, which is cool. I really enjoy that. You guys know that I really enjoy fighting that way in Tekken. So yeah, I'm really happy with the state that Fahkumram has released in. In terms of tier, in terms of strength, I originally put Fahkumram at like bottom tier. My opinion hasn't changed that much. Maybe I put him up to mid tier, and there's a few reasons for that. I would say that there is a high amount of mental stack when you're playing against Fahkumram, for beginner and intermediate players in particular, but also for high-level players as well. There is a lot to think about. There is so much counterplay in terms of strings and which way to step him in certain situations, or which way to step him reliably, or like the correct counter in that specific situation to get out of the most dangerous moves that he has, like with any character. But there's a lot of that with Fahkumram to think about. I'm not gonna say that mental stack does not play a part in that, because it absolutely does. Let's say, for example, you're doing, you know, 3 strings, right? This will always be an extension to this, will always be a high, except for one move he has, which is mid-mid, right? But if he does the mid-mid, it's minus 12, right? So there's clear risk in using that. However, because there are so many different options from his 3 button, it can make mental stack definitely play a part, right? Whereas all you really needed to do to get out of all of those high extensions, right, with the 1 or the delayed mid or the delayed, you know, the blue spark 3-4-4, all you'd have to do is do a duck into dick jab, and that would beat all but this option right here. But mental stack definitely does play a part. I get away at Tekken God Supreme doing this, right, which I shouldn't really get away with, you know, doing this into this. I shouldn't really get away with that, but I do, and I think most of that is to do with mental stack. And then, you know, you can talk about range, right? He has absurdly good range. Some of the characters, like Brian Squat Circle Back 1, definitely competes with this, so he definitely has some bad matchups, but that also makes the character interesting, in my opinion. When characters have bad matchups and good matchups, that makes the character actually more fun to play as, because then you have to really think about each individual matchup, not just the player you're going up against. I think that's really cool, and I like that in Tekken characters. I think it's definitely something that has been lost more in Tekken 8 compared to Tekken 7, so I really do appreciate that. And then we can talk about him being the most popular DLC character in Tekken 8 yet. I think it's 3 patches running in a row that he's been the highest played character, or has the highest pick rate. I think that's really cool, and it really also shows a lot about Tekken players in general. It shows a kind of wholesome side of the Tekken community, where a character can be easy to pick up, but has a high skill ceiling, like Fahkumram. You know, if you're doing combos, for example, or you're trying to run your offense, it's harder to run offense at high level, and you have like tracking moves for different sides, right? Leading to more interesting mind games for high level players. But the intermediate players can still run all this stuff, right? You know, they can still run all this stuff and get high value with the character without having to put like a crazy amount of effort in. But when it gets to high level, you really have to think more about how you use your moves, like outspacing, like spacing out your back 3+4 or your 3, right, to play keep out. I think that's really cool. I really do like the high skill ceiling with characters, but having characters that are easy to pick up for beginners and intermediates is also really important for a character's popularity. Also, he is very balanced, right? He doesn't have a G-Clev, you know, heat engager. He doesn't have a 10-frame heat engager like Laws 111, for example. Safe homing mids, you know, homing mid, -13. Right, he has a homing high. This is amazing, by the way. Definitely his best homing move, because this is also a full heat dash launcher, right? At 16 frames, it's really, really good, but he doesn't have a plus on block homing mid that ball splats and does X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, you know what I'm saying, right? He doesn't have all these different tags to moves. He has like a few tags, and you have to use those moves in conjunction with each other to form a game plan properly with him. I think that's cool, and I think it's cool that Tekken players like that, or like playing like that, right? I think that a lot of Tekken players get a bad rap going from Tekken 7 to Tekken 8, and the view that a lot of people hold about these quote-unquote new Tekken 8 players is that they don't know what real Tekken is, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's cool to see a character kind of dismiss that, basically, you know, considering it's the most popular DLC character. That's just, that whole idea kind of gets thrown out the window. He doesn't have like heavy stance mix. A lot of his stance stuff is like very option selectable, which I definitely welcome. I welcome that as a guy who makes a lot of anti-guides, right? So he has a lot of different option selects. He doesn't have a lot of force 50-50s. You can talk about Rama stance, but there is a mind game in this. All you have to do is backdash to avoid this throw here, and you can react to the unblockable because it's so slow on startup, right? So the OS would be backdash and then interrupt this, right? Otherwise, the 50-50 is the low or the mids, right? This is not reactable and tracks to both sides. And then you can do the mid, right? So there is stuff, like I said, with high skill ceiling, beginner and intermediate players, they won't know to backdash and interrupt the unblockable there. But that's cool for high level players because it creates a mind game. Sometimes when I do Rama stance, I might do nothing, right? And I'll try and trip my opponent up, right? I think that's cool that you have that in the character. He doesn't have a heat smash wall splat, which is very rare for a character that has a heat smash at 16 frame startup. I definitely welcome that. I think most of the player base does also welcome that. You have, you know, so many characters, heat smashes will wall splat or break walls. His obviously does break walls, but I actually wish it didn't, but it does. You know, no lows into stance. He doesn't have any lows into stance. And also no -12 lows, which I'm sure everybody likes. You know, this is his safest low at -13, which is cool. I like that. But also what makes him so popular, I think, is he's so fun to play against because of all those things. It's not like, you know, oh, I'm pressing, oh, 10 frame heat engager. You know what I'm saying? 10 frame launcher. He doesn't really have that. And again, 50-50s aren't always strong, but because Fahkumram doesn't have many 50-50s, I think that also is a factor in people enjoying playing against him. 50-50s don't always have to be strong to be annoying to fight against, right? Look at Eddie. Eddie is very 50-50 based, but he's quite a weak character. But he is also really annoying to fight against. And I would bet you money to find people that say that Eddie isn't annoying to fight against. Voice crack. You know what I'm saying? Lots of counterplay from mind games, and you have to think while you're attacking, like I've said before. This isn't a Fahkumram downplay video, by the way. I'm just trying to maybe shine some light on why people might really like playing him. I think that's really cool. And let's hope the next DLC, Armor King, plays the same way. He can be strong, just make sure that Armor King's strength isn't strong 50-50s with minimal risk, right? I think there is something to be said with character strength versus 50-50s. because a lot of Tekken 8 strong characters have very strong 50-50s with minimal risk, right? A character's strength doesn't have to be defined by their 50-50 utility. That is not the end-all be-all with strength, in my opinion. There can be a lot of other things, like spacing, whiff punishment, counter hits. You can have string mix-ups, right? Or mental stack, like with Fahkumram. This stuff is actually quite strong because of the mental stack that it puts on your opponent. Maybe not a tournament level, right? And not a pro level. For online, which is where the game is played by most people, this is definitely really important to think about, like mental stack. I think that can be annoying for some players to fight against, but when you actually learn that stuff, it becomes really rewarding. So it's really fun to fight against that character when you actually learn the matchup. With 50-50 characters, it's not so fun because you've learned the matchup and you're still just guessing, right? And I think that most players would agree that guessing is not as fun as learning defense and countering another player's offense pretty reliably. I think most players would agree with that. So let's hope that the Armor King plays the same way. His trailer looked awesome. There are some worrying things in 50-50 stuff that it looks like he has in that trailer. Maybe we'll go over that in another video. Some of the stuff is a little bit worrying, like forward, neutral 2 going into stance, and back 1-2 like punishes going into stance. I think we should move a little bit away from stance-based characters, you know. Fahkumram isn't a stance-based character, and look how popular he is. People really want to think more when they play the game, not just run, you know, 1 or 2 different moves from their stances to run their offense. Anna is super strong, like arguably top 1 character in the game, but that's not the defining factor for wanting to play DLC. Anna is like, I don't know where she is in the character pick rates. Someone will have to remind me where she is in the comments. I think she's around 7 or 8. But for a top 1 character in the game, and believe me, she is top 1. You can fight me in the comments, but I'm telling you, she is top 1. She has such ridiculous tools. It is actually funny. She has so much stuff that if you really want to win, play Anna. I've labbed a lot of this character because I did 2 anti-guides on the stances, right? One for Hammer Chance and one for Chaos Judgment. And I went through everything, and she really does. When you lab a character and then you come to the same conclusion, I mean, like, come on, man. Like, what more do you want? But as we can see right now, strength is not the defining factor in wanting to play a DLC character. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about Fahkumram. I know I'm getting a bit away from the topic at hand here, but I wanted to talk about Fahkumram because I really enjoy playing the character and I wanted to talk about it. So I think I'm going to end the video there. Just a little short video on revisiting what I did a while ago when he first released that video that I put out. But yeah, I'm really enjoying playing the character, and let me know how you're feeling about Fahkumram right now and his popularity in terms of the DLC character release. But take it easy, guys, and I will see you in the next one.